Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Mark. Co-host Luke is still under the weather, so just going to be me going solo for you guys today. Great show for you guys today, though. A Pistons preview show, all about that game tonight, where the Grizzlies will hopefully get another W. So, going to talk about that stuff tonight. The Pistons preview kind of in the first segment, or what our stats monster might be in the second segment, and how I think the Grizzlies are actually going to be able to get that W, what they should do on the court tonight in that last segment of the show. So, if you're looking for a team that's worse than the Grizzlies, guess what? The Pistons are it. The Pistons are the one of the teams, very few teams now that are have a worse record and are truly just worse than the Grizzlies altogether. So, the Pistons right now 2-18, only again two W's on the season, and that's tough. It's tough, but a team that truly is bottom ranks in almost everything in every category in the NBA. So we're talking about what some of the things they do, some of the stats for the Pistons, kind of some of the things they do well. They do actually have some things they do well, and I think that's more the case of obviously the roster and how it's built than it is anything else. But they do have things they actually do well, even though they're only 2-18, or 2-18. So I said 18. I thought I was going crazy, but that is actually true. 2-18. And it's tough to be a Pistons fans right now. That's for sure. But the Pistons, 27th out of 30 in points per game, 109.2. Mirror that to the Grizzlies. Also, very, very low. See, 27th out of 30 for the Pistons. Grizzlies are 29th out of 30, 105.9. So could be a very low scoring affair for these two teams. They both really struggle in the offensive game. They both really struggle to get points up. The Pistons let in, they're 23rd. They let in 118 per game. And the Grizzlies are only 11th. They're letting in 111 per game. Something we talked about yesterday on this show. The Grizzlies defense has really come around, and has been better over the last few weeks. And as they continue, I think, to add more people, as they continue to get people back healthy, they will continue to be better and better. The Grizzlies offensive rating, 29th out of 30, that we've talked about before. And their offensive struggles, they are not good on offense right now. Their offensive rating is 106.2. And again, the Detroit Pistons are fighting for that bottom spot as well. 109.1, 27 out of 30. So if you're looking for a worse offense than the Grizzlies, you found it in the Pistons. What the Pistons don't do well is they don't have a good defense either. Their defensive rating is 24 out of 30, 118. That means their net rating is minus 8.9. That's one of the worst net ratings in the league. Second to last net ratings in the league for the Pistons. So what they do well is they don't have a good defense, and nor do they have a good offense. So I know that's a recipe for disaster, which is why they're 2-18, but it does not bode well for the Pistons. The Grizzlies, at least we've talked about this before, at least they have a good defense. Their offensive rating, again, 106.2, 29 out of 30. The defensive rating, it's 10th. So talked about yesterday with Daniel on the show, top 10 defense. They just cracked it just barely over the last, I think, week and a half. That's moved up to the top 10. So 112.2. The net rating is -6. It's bottom third of the league. It's not great. It's 24th out of 30. So it's not great, but it's not 29. So that net rating has lowered. It has been better than it was in the past, but it has lowered over the course of like the last maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. It was higher than that previously. But again, the Pistons, they don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. And they do not have a good net rating. Bodes well for the Grizzlies being able to at least lock them down on defense and keep them from scoring. If the Grizzlies, can have a semblance of an offense tonight, then I think they'll have no problem with this game, which is something we haven't really said a lot about the Grizzlies about anything. Is having like an easy game. They had the Mavs, I guess, not full strength, last Friday. And it's about time the Grizzlies catch some breaks and have some stuff that are have some games that are not full strength. I think that's probably been the downfall, or just not the downfall, just the bad luck, right? Like a lot of teams have been healthy, and the Grizzlies have not been healthy all season. Not once have they been healthy at all. So hopefully the Grizzlies can catch some teams just down on the luck and catching the injury bug in December and January, when that really starts to hit for a lot of teams, when they start to kind of hit the halfway point of the season and really start to get a lot of games under the belt. So not the case for the Pistons, though. They got most everybody healthy. If I'm not mistaken, the injury report was pretty clean. I think it may be none. So they have Morgan Badley on the injury report, but not really a big deal. So the people on the injury report are not going to affect their roster or kind of lineup construction at all during this game. So let's talk about some things that the Pistons do well. Surprisingly, they are good in some categories, even though their offense and defense are both, as a whole, pretty abysmal. But one thing they do quite well is they are very good rebounding team. So they are 6th in offensive rebounding in the league, and they are 12th in defensive rebounding. That brings their total to 7th in total rebounding. So part of that reason is, again, Jalen Duren is an absolute monster on the boards. I mean, he's averaging 10.9 rebounds a game, 7.4 defensive rebounding, 3.5 offensive rebounds. I mean, the guys as a rebounding machine. Ausar Thompson, also a rebounding machine. Between those guys right there, is 29 rebounds a game, just between those two dudes. So the Grizzlies are going to really have to be able to keep those guys off the boards. But again, they do a great job in rebounding as a whole. Almost top 5 in offensive rebounding. So we've seen that problem creep up with the Grizzlies before, where they give up multiple second chances, multiple offensive rebounds on one possession. And time again, you see a lot of teams against the Grizzlies be able to get multiple chances and multiple looks and eventually score the basketball. If you give NBA teams enough chances, they're going to score the basketball eventually. So that's something to watch about the Grizzlies tonight, is being able to keep them off the offensive rebounds, and really, for the Grizzlies, defensive rebounding and making that a priority for this team. That could get, that's one of those things that could really creep in and hurt you. The Grizzlies are just not a great rebounding team. They are 22nd right now, 24th in defensive rebounding, and 18th in offensive. So like 24th in defensive rebounding against a team who's almost top 5 in offensive rebounding. That is a recipe, that just does not bode well. So I would see something to watch for, as Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson are going to be your starting center power forward combination there. Who Jaren's going to guard, I assume is probably going to be Thompson, and probably put Bismack Biyombo and Jalen Duren. But again, those guys are very interchangeable. They can play different spots. They played a lot of different positions in terms of the front court. And so that's just something to keep an eye out for, that the Grizzlies are just not – they don't do a good job on the offensive rebound, cleaning up their defensive rebounds and offensive rebound for the other team. So that's something that they even though their offense and defense as a whole is not great, that's something they do extremely, extremely well for the Pistons. So the other thing they do well, they're very good assist team, and they are very good at getting into the paint. They are very good at scoring in the paint. They are 8th in 2-point attempts, second in 2-point attempts, and 8 in 2-point makes, 24th in 2-point percentage. But again, they really get to the inside the paint a lot. Some things you saw with this Pistons team right here, and kind of some of these categories, is a lot of things you saw with the Grizzlies team of old. Something we saw over the past 3 games with this Grizzlies team. They have gotten into the paint, scored like 58 and two games in a row, above 56 the last 3 games, and it scored in the paint. Even though they lost that Suns game on Saturday, that's when they did really well, was get into the paint. And that's why I talked about yesterday with Daniels, that I wasn't upset that they lost that game, because I think they did everything they were supposed to do in that game. They played well. More importantly, they kind of played their style, and they got into the paint. And that's what they have been severely lacking this entire season, is kind of getting back to that offense that has worked before. And even though they tried, the staff tries to make this a 3-point shooting team, but not the personnel, getting back into the paint and scoring at the paint at a high level is something the Grizzlies have to really try to do. Right now, they are 25th in 2-point attempts. 25th. Now that's not in the paint. That's just 2-point attempts in general, but typically that suggests a situation where they're not scoring inside the paint a lot versus, again, the Pistons, who are second in 2-point attempts. They're really getting to the lane and getting scoring easy buckets. And so that's just something to keep a lookout for. Excuse me. Those two things are something that Pistons do well. They do well as a team. They really rebound the ball well, offense rebound the ball well, and they get into the lane and score inside the paint really well. That's kind of their goal. That's their offense. They don't take a lot of 3-point attempts. Again, in fact, they're almost dead last in 3-point attempts. Versus you look at the Grizzlies, who are 6th in 3-point attempts. They're 6th in 3-point attempts, even though they're 30th in 3-point percentage. And again, that's the one thing I could probably, if you want to kind of critique the staff on and their changes and adjustments and schemes, that's the one thing I would probably critique on, is because you don't really have the personnel to do that. You don't have the personnel to shoot be 6th in 3-point attempts every game. You just don't. The only person who's efficient enough to do that is Desmond Bane, and they are killing him on the boards killing him on the double teams every night. So it's something this Detroit teams and what they do inside the paint is something that the Grizzlies have done over the course of the last 2 years, and it's kind of flip-flop this year, and it hasn't really worked for the Grizzlies so far. I really want to see them. I would love to see them get back to getting inside the paint more and making that their primary offense instead of shooting 3 balls, right? They have been this kind of what they're trying to do, this kind of 5-out system that, again, hasn't really worked for them so far this year. And again, that's TBD, I guess, because they don't really have the full roster. So maybe once they get Luke Kennard back and, Ja's a decent-ish 3-point shooter, once you get some of these people back that works a little bit more, maybe Ja's a different threat of driving in the lane, and maybe it does work. I don't know. But right now, so far, with the personnel they've had so far, it has not worked. So again, that's something to keep an eye out for. That's something the Pistons do well. Those kind of things on offense. They rebound the ball well, offense rebound the ball well, get into the paint really quite well too. Something they do on defensively, defense they do well is they actually do a good job of limiting 3-point attempts. They're third in the league and in terms of defensive limiting 3-point attempts. So their opponents only shoot 30.3 attempts per game. You look at the Grizzlies and they actually shoot 39 attempts per game. So something to keep in mind as well defensively for the Pistons is they have a pretty good perimeter defense. So maybe this is a game for the Grizzlies to really look inside, right? If they're running them off the 3-point line, if they are being able to really do damage on the perimeter defense, maybe that's something they look at as well. Something they do good as well is they again, rebounding wise, they just limit their opponents' rebounding. They really limit their opponents' rebounding. That goes obviously as the offensive rebounding and how good they are there. So those are some things that the Pistons do well, some things the Grizzlies don't do well. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about our stats monster, who I think our stats monster might be tomorrow. And then again, we'll talk about a little bit more of what the Grizzlies' strategy should be to try to get a W coming up tonight.
I am highly upset, man.
Oh, man.
ESPN, you dastardly dogs you. Last week had us feeling good. They picked the Grizzlies to be first in the West with about 48.5 wins. And what a difference a few days makes.
What a difference.
You put out your list of the top 100 players in the NBA. Desmond Bane jumps in at 61. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in at number 31. Jaren's top 25 to me, but if you all right, whatever. I think that's a little slight to Jaren. Desmond Baines is disgusting, in my opinion. Then we get Ja Morant, All-NBA player, 2-time All-Star, one of the most dynamic offensively players in the NBA, Ja Morant. That guy was number 35 on their list, Kenny Stubblefield. The same people that said the Grizzlies will be the first team in the West. They're going to get that done with just some regular dudes.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Just curious, you kind of talked about the transfers and things like that. How has that changed your mindset from a roster management standpoint? Like, incredible recruiter. All the classes, I think we had 2 back-to-back and 21 and 22 top classes. How does that change with the transfer portal? Do you start focusing more on upperclassmen? Do you kind of get away from the younger freshmen? How does that work?
Yeah, so I still believe in our coaching staff, the way we do things, and developing guys. And that I will never get away from that philosophy. We're still going to recruit a high school class. Now, there's a lot of colleges out there that say, screw this. We're pushing all the chips in on this roster, win right now, and we'll figure it out. Sure. And if it doesn't, right, it implodes and bad things happen. But I think you still have to bring in true freshmen and develop them and see what they can become. And that I'll never waver from that. But the portal certainly changed things.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the show, The Daily Grind, where we talk about the Grizzlies every single day right here on Bluff City Media at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. A little bit of the time of the show where it's shameless promotion time. Luke's not here with me, but that's okay. We still got to do it. If you're not already a Bluff City Media Insider, make sure you go and do so. It's super helpful and super affordable and super fun. And it's only $5 a month. You get access to our Discord, where we chat it up there every single game, kind of all day, actually, every day. And something's always going on in the Discord. Someone's always having a peaceful yet spirited discussion about a player or players. And so I love that Discord is very fun. You also get access to our insider articles. So our articles behind our paywall. You get access to our merchandise, like this cool hat here, 20% off that. And then early merchandise. When we release something, we send it to our insider members early. And then you guys get that before anybody else, and access to get it and 20% off on top of that. So super cool. Again, super fun, $5 a month. And if you're not able to do that, just go ahead and just subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps a lot and is really gets us things we need to be able to continue to have this show and all of our shows across all of our channels each and every week. Let's get back to the show. The stats monster that we think is going to be, or I think is going to be coming up for this game tonight. I really have to go with, I think that I want to say Desmond Bane, but they do such a good job limiting 3-point attempts. I think I'm still going to go with Desmond Bane because I think that he's going to find ways to be able to score the basketball. And actually, let's put our little stats monster up here. It's been a while since we've seen him. Actually, it's been a while since we've done stats monster, but I think it's going to be Desmond Bane. I think the guys guarding him, Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, I think those guys are probably not going to be able to defend Desmond Bane at a level that I think he is going to score the basketball at tonight. I know that there are, again, third and 3-point attempts. So really do a really good job in limiting 3-point attempts just as a whole on a team level. But I think that Desmond Bane's going to get his tonight. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to have his hands full with Jalen Duren. And I think Jalen Duren's an extremely good basketball player. Ausar Thompson's an extremely good basketball player. And I think Jalen Duren's he's a good defender. He's a high level defender, and Jaren's going to have his hands full. I think Jaren and Dismack for the front court is just going to be a battle all night long. And I think the backcourt is where you're going to really have to have guys really shine. I think Desmond Bane's going to be that guy. I think Desmond Bane drops a 30 piece tonight, probably gets, he's probably 4 for 8 from 3, something like that, where I feel like Desmond Bane, it really does enough to get the win. And it's going to have to be Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. like we talk about every single night, is that you got to have those guys go off every night, in addition to another guy off the bench to get W's. It's a math game at that point. So, I think that the Grizzlies really have to find ways to get Desmond going either downhill, find ways to get him open looks. I think that's something they've done a poor job of so far. A lot of times this season, and a lot of games this season, is really running actions for Desmond. Even if it's got to go through double screens, like, you got to do something to get this guy open. It's just difficult for Desmond to fight through all that stuff all the time. And then also top of that, play decent defense as well. But then on the offense, and just continue to fight through all that shit all the time. It's tiring, right? Like, it's tiring running around the court all the time just to try to find open looks. So I really think the Grizzlies have to find a way to get open looks for Desmond Bane. Again, running those actions where that's down screens coming from the bottom to the top. Okay, put two screeners in the way. Like, do something for Desmond Bane so that he has better options when he gets the ball, either for just open looks or trying to get him going downhill like he loves to do. So the Grizzlies, it's on them to get him open looks. But I think if they do that tonight, Desmond Bane will come out and be the stats monster on the other side of tomorrow's show. So let's take another quick break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the Grizzlies and how they win this game tonight.
Seth Hennigan just still, he
Doesn't look himself.
He just doesn't, in the big moments, he's not making the plays that have to be made. If you look at the raw stats, they're not terrible, but the 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
And he fumbled twice. They didn't lose those fumbles, but 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions, one of them coming at a terrible time on a 4th down late in the game when Memphis really needed to put points on the board. But I just don't think Seth is playing well enough to elevate this team.
Right.
I think he's playing well enough for Memphis to be fine, but as far as for them to do something special and to elevate this team, he's just not playing like that.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Kenny, there are certain guys in the NBA that are enigmatic players. They're going to be appealing to a large fan base. But when you have guys like that who, like John Morant, who have off-court issues he's had, Kyrie Irving who's had the things he's had, the NBA doesn't particularly like the fact that those guys are larger than life. If I'm the NBA, if I'm ESPN, who of course are working together on all this stuff,
Yeah.
I'm going to start telling you who you need to like. And it's going to be a different type of guy to kind of play off of the guys that are going to be there anyway. Let me put these squeaky clean image guys that we want to put in front of you up there as well to kind of counteract some of the stuff we get with the guys that we don't have any control out of. So let me put the Tyrese Halliburtons in front of you. Let me put the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders in front of you, the Josh Giddys. Let me force these guys in front of you, not particularly on national television games, but let me just kind of create these little sub agendas with these guys to kind of make them those second tier stars that we're gonna like put out in front as well. Like they're doing this on purpose, man. Like if anybody can't see this, like come on, man. Do not sit there and tell me that you really think that Tyrese Halliburton is a top 20 player in the NBA.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind, a daily Memphis Grizzlies show right here on Bluff City Media, talking about the Grizzlies every single day. My name is Mark, and I'm usually joined by my co-host Luke. He's feeling under the weather last, almost a week now. So hopefully he gets better and he joins me soon. But don't forget tonight after the game, Grizz 901 live post-game show with Daniel and Nate. Those guys do a great job on this show. It's a super fun kind of interactive show, and they take your questions and comments and I throw them up on the screen, and it's really a fun show, and they have a good time. And late night shows, you never know what you're going to get into with those guys and what's going to roll off the rails over on that post game show. But it's live after every single game right here on Bluff City Media. Now we talked about the Grizzlies, the Pistons, what they do well in that first segment. Let's talk about the Pistons and what they do bad, and how the Grizzlies can exploit that for a W tonight. Some things they are not good at all. The Pistons are terrible in turnovers. Turn the ball over almost 15 times a game. Excuse me. That's let me make sure I'm on the right one. That's the Pistons. Sorry. Pistons are almost last in the league. Turn the ball over 17 times a game. 17.2. So they are not good at taking care of the ball. Some things they are not good at. They are not good at shooting threes. They don't take a lot of threes. They take almost dead last in 3-point attempts, but they also don't make a lot of threes. Almost dead last in they're 29th in 3-point attempts, 29th in 3-point makes, 25th in 3-point percentage. So they don't take a lot, they don't make a lot, and they're not good at threes. That's those two things are their kind of Achilles heel. They don't take a lot of free throws. They don't get to the line a lot, but they also put their opponent on the line quite a bit. And so at a foul rate, almost, 17, league average right now for the Pistons. They're putting their opponent on the line for a total of 27 free throw attempts per game. I know that sounds like a lot because the Grizzlies also do the same thing. So it could be an ugly game tonight. It could be a foul fest. of epic proportions when you have two bottom tier teams who foul all the time, but they're the other teams on the line all the time. But the Grizzlies, what I think they should be looking at doing is it starts with defense. It starts with defense tonight. Active hands, really get into passing lanes, turning the ball over, and creating offense out of defense. The Pistons love to give the ball away. They give the ball away at an epic rate. And so if the Grizzlies can have a defense where they are really getting active, really having their hands in passing lanes, and they can create deflections and turnovers and turn that into fast break offense, even just turning that into offense period, but really running down the court. I think that I think they'll get a lot of points off that, and they'll have a lot of success with that. So I think number one, it starts there. It starts there, and the defense and the passing lanes and creating offense out of your defense. The Pistons like to run too. They're top 10 in pace. So that's not going to bother them that much. But just, again, creating extra possessions out of something that doesn't exist is where the Grizzlies need to start. Secondly, got to force them to the line, or 3-point line. Again, we talked about this in the first segment. This is a team that loves to get inside. They love to score in the paint. You cannot let them drive the ball. If anything, pack the paint. Like, let them do what people do to the Grizzlies. Well, you see the Grizzlies all the time is teams just literally sitting in the paint and daring them to shoot the ball. If they beat them with three-pointers, then so be it. Do the same thing to the Pistons. That's what the Grizzlies have to look at tonight, is finding a way to force them to shoot 3-pointers, force them to shoot from the outside, because this is not something they like to do. It's not something they do well. And so if the Grizzlies can force them to shoot 3-pointers, that will hopefully lead to a lot of rebounds, defensive reboundings that are easy, maybe longer than normal, that they could gobble up and turn into, obviously possessions the other way. So I think those are the top two things for the Grizzlies tonight to be able to win this basketball game: is defense, deflections, turning them over. Because again, they love to turn the ball over as it is, but also just forcing them to the 3-point line, leaving them open on 3-point line and letting them shoot. And that's something we say all the time. The Grizzlies are great at letting people shoot from the 3-point line. So this should not be a hard thing to do for the Grizzlies, because they let people shoot from the perimeter wide open like all the time. It's something they're awful at. So I think those combination things for the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies just for themselves on offense, just getting to the paint, like we talked about, getting into the paint and being able to drive the ball. Again, the Pistons foul at an enormous rate. They put people on the line almost 29 attempts per game. So if the Grizzlies can get into the lane, they could drive the basketball. If they could force them to foul, you can get a lot of extra points, either on 3-point plays or just free throws at the line. I think those are, offensively for the Grizzlies, is where you need to live. You need to live inside the paint tonight. You need to live on the drive. You need to live at the free throw line. That's where the Grizzlies need to win in terms of offense for them tonight. And hopefully that kind of springs something and gets something going in the offense, so that, free throws, you see guys see some of those go in, and maybe that gets them going. So beyond that, the Grizzlies have to have Jaren and Desmond going. And then we talked about like this on the other show yesterday. They got to have someone else. It can't be just Desmond. It can't be just Jaren. It's got to be someone else besides those guys that steps up, whether that's Asante, whether that's Jalen Newell, whether that's whoever that might be off the bench, whether that's a David Roddy game again. It's got to be somebody that is going to score, 15, 17 points off the bench, and be able to support those main guys. So support Desmond and Jaren, especially if they score 25, 30 points a game like they did last time. So for the Grizzlies to win, again, starts with defense, turnovers, turning defense and offense, pushing them to the 3-point line, making them shoot 3-pointers, and on their offensive side, driving the basketball, getting into the paint, and also getting those fouls that the Pistons love to give out. That's going to be it for us on today's show on the Daily Grind. Hope you guys enjoy the game tonight. Hopefully the Grizzlies can go out and get another W against the Pistons tonight, and keep climbing that ladder towards the ever-longing playing game, and keep decreasing the amount of games till to Ja's back and this roster gets fully healthy. We can really see what a team can do. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back with Luke, hopefully, if he's feeling better. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock, like we hear every single day, talking about the Grizzlies. We'll see you then.